welcome to the Cookout, man. You got your boy, D. Alex Mack, Dapper Dom in the building. How we feeling today?
Let me show the cup.
Yes, sir.
The cup.
Hey, if you knew, you ain't know, man. You gotta check out the Dapper Dom, man. Got the branded cup in here, man. How we feeling today?
Feeling good. Matter of fact, like I think I said on one episode before, bro, you gonna make me earn that name. Had matching the shoes, then I see the little jewels on the wrist.
Little something, man.
Everything coordinated, man.
Little something, man. These youngest, man, they don't care about matching.
No, they don't.
Me, I feel like the subtle, I'm in the middle. Like, I don't go matchy match. Yeah. But I like the subtle, you know what I'm saying? Try to tie it together.
Man, they be having.
My kids is, I don't know what they be doing, man. I be like, that's how you want to move, then fine. Like, they definitely older now. Yeah. So, like, my oldest, he picks out his own clothes. My youngest, I still kind of pick his together, man. But they be doing their own thing nowadays, man.
Yes. Because my son play football, and like he got in school colors blue and white, but he got these lime green cleats, and I was just like, they do it in basketball too, and I was like, I can't get with it yet. I hadn't got there.
It threw me off too, man. What we talking about today, man? We're gonna put on this
we're talking about our kids, man. All right, school just started, man.
Yes, sir.
I know your kids are a little older, and I got one older, and I got one that just started kindergarten, man. How's that drop off? Like gives you it's kind of like
drop off so I'm back in the drop off pool this year because my neighbor's sons my oldest doesn't share a school with anybody this year. Okay. So they're all I think we're between me and my neighbor's kids, we're all at 3 different schools for 4 boys. Yeah. So for the last couple of years, I haven't been doing no drop offs, man. But I think now with my oldest, it do be a little bit tougher now because I just can sense him getting older. Yeah. And it's just, man, I be like, dang, like where did the time go, man?
That's how I feel about my 8th grader, man. Although like he live in Little Rock, I still just like when I see him, it's almost like, man, he's changing so much, and you
right
see
in front
it,
of you.
right? Yep. Yeah. But man, Mal started kindergarten, bro.
Dang.
So
when you told me, I was like, dang.
I know, man. First day was fine. I would say the first day for me, like, I was okay because I think like we got to walk him in the school.
Yes.
Watch him sit in the seat, watch him start mingling with his classmates, and so like that was cool. But then like the second day they was like, oh no, you got to drop him off. Yeah. And so I was like,
he on his own.
So when we dropped him off, I think what made me feel a little more just like emotion, like. It was like he was walking in with a bunch of 1st and 2nd graders, so he just looked so little with his little backpack on. And I was just like, man, I hope he know where he get to, boy.
All of that.
Yeah. So like, but he fine. The parents, like me and my wife, boy, it was an emotional day for us. I can tell you that much. Thursday was tough.
I can only imagine. Yeah, man.
Last Thursday.
That's that jump, that kindergarten. I feel like it really speeds up from there. Like the years just start. Like I'm looking at my Tristan. He's 2nd grade. It's like, man, that's. I remember when Kyan was in 2nd grade. So I feel like that's especially because it's like, it's that big of a jump too. Because especially like with your makeup and how mine was, he wasn't in like daycare full time. Yeah. My wife was staying at home with mine, so it's like you're going from all that interaction with them to like. Really not as much, especially when you start throwing in like activities and sports. And I don't know how other people are, but like I grew up with bedtimes. My kids have bedtimes. I know some of their friends don't, but we still a bedtime household. Yeah. So when you throw that in there, it's like, dang, the interaction you're having with them it gets limited. That's probably the biggest jump because you're going from being with them so much and being so involved to where. You got other things. So I tried I like lunch, going to their school, having lunch. Okay. I try to throw that in there just as another thing, just to kind of hang out and have some of that time.
Gotcha. Well, man, what's on the grill today? I'm gonna ask you a question, and it's kind of gonna segue into what's on the grill today. Do you have any did you give your kids? Well, you have 2 kids, so I'll have to ask. Like, it might be different for kids that have like only child. They're the only child. Well, I have multiple, but like Mav is the only one in the house right now. Well, in a few weeks he's gonna be the only one in the house. Yeah. But I had to ask some of my guys who was single kid, who were only kids growing up, like my guy Rico and I know Chris. But like, did your parents do like a special meal for you for the first day of school?
Man, honestly, not that I can remember, man. I don't think it was so it was like 4 of us.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It might be a little different.
So it was a little bit different. I don't recall us doing like it being a big spectacle. Yeah. I don't know, I don't know if it was just my household or if it's more of a thing now with like all the pictures and like, hey, my kid's in X grade and he's gonna be in this. Like, I don't feel like it was like that for me growing up, honestly.
Yeah. So Mav loves steak. Absolutely loves steak. He'll eat steak probably every day if you let him.
Yeah.
But my wife was like, oh, since first day of kindergarten, like we're gonna do steak for dinner. And I was like, man, this guy getting steak. Yeah. Just for going to school. But
that bar is high, man. You better not drop it lower.
But yeah, let's talk about steak today.
Yeah.
Got a couple questions and we'll just dive through it. Like, one, do you have a favorite steakhouse, either local or just by forever? Do you have a favorite type of steak, and then how do you cook your steak? So like let's dive into
so I got a good story for that, man. Especially when you're talking about Mav having we didn't really have like steak growing up. Yeah. Like especially I think about it in terms of like in steakhouse, like you order a cut and then it's for you, unless you get like a bigger cut and then everyone kind of eats off of it. Not like steak in that sense growing up. Like, funny story is, and just talk about just influence and the things that we, feel as kids and just growing up. Like, I remember specifically there was a line, I don't know if you remember the song Into You with Tamia and Fabolous. Yeah. There's a line where he says, I ain't trying to trip, but truth is, girl, the way you cook a steak is kind of like them strips from Roof Chris. Yeah, yep. So I was like, and I was a Fabolous fan growing up, and I liked the song. So I was like, man, Roof Chris, like, again, that exposure, I had never heard about that before. So when I found out what it was, like, I was like, man, I want to go there, man. Like, that's the spot to go to, man. I want to go to Roof Chris. Fabolous that put me on, man. So then I remember I was interning one year. And I hadn't worked. Like, my parents, were just focused on education, sports. Don't worry about working. So I wasn't someone in high school who worked. Yeah. So when I interned in college, like, that intern money was like, dang, I had this before. Yeah. Like, man, let me go in there and show somebody a little something. So at the time, I was engaged to Lorraine. Yeah. And I was like, man, I was feeling good. So I was like, let me go ahead and ball out. And I was like, we going to Roof Chris. This is towards the end of the internship. I think I was about to do my, end of the thing presentation. I might have done it. And I was like, man, we going to Roof Chris, man. Yeah. And we went and it was a great time, man. And I enjoyed it. So probably just from a personal significance meaning perspective, and my wife really loves Roof Chris. That's probably the one we go to the most. I do enjoy when I like work travel or personal travel, trying the different places out that they have. McCormick and Schmick's is I don't know if they're East Coast or like Midwest up north, but they're a good chain that I really like. And there's another one, but it's not coming to mind right now. That's really good that I like. So that's really my go-to. Okay. In terms of cut, I'm a ribeye guy. Okay. I love a ribeye just because typically you can get a good amount of it. So people who don't know, just for reference sake, like 16 ounces equals a pound. Mm-hmm. So you can get good size ribeye versus some of the other cuts. It's like, man, I'm probably overdoing. No one should be eating that much, meat in a sitting. Well, but I think for steaks, and we talked about this in earlier episodes, it's typically a celebratory, special occasion, birthday, anniversary, just sign a big deal, whatever it is, type of thing. So I'm a ribeye guy just because I like the tenderness, the meatiness, and then just the juiciness of it that comes from the fat, man. Okay. So my go-to is usually medium. I like a medium steak, man. Okay. That's my go-to, man. What about yours?
So probably around here, I actually probably prefer to cook mine at home around here.
See, I didn't throw that option in.
Yeah,
I didn't throw that option in.
Like we will go,
yes, sir.
But like around here, like definitely cook it at the house, and sometimes on the grill, but sometimes a cast iron skillet. The butter, the garlic, the thyme and stuff on the side.
You ain't gotta do nothing else.
Yeah, around here, but like I tell you, probably one of the best steaks I've had is from Emerald's. I was in Vegas. Yeah.
See, there's a steakhouse there that I'm about to look it up. Yeah. There's one in Vegas that I like, man, and it ain't coming to me.
It was years ago, but bro, I still just remember. Matter of fact, the food was so good. Me and my guys went back the next night because we was like, "Oh, we're going back again."
Dang, that's a lot for
so fire
for steak too.
I'm a ribeye guy too, man. Sometimes I do the strip, but like that ribeye, like you said, like. I think it goes back just to juiciness and flavor of it that I love with the ribeye, man. Like you said, like it's a lot of meat. Probably shouldn't be eating it in one setting, but definitely love it. But let's talk about like what gives it that juiciness. And so when they talk about like when you see like the white in the steak, what they call like the marble of the steak, like that's that. And fatness, which is probably not healthy for us. But like you said, we're not eating it too often. And so as you cook it, that marble is cooking into the steak and making that juiciness and tenderness. But ribeye 16 ounces. Now, I don't know whether you all know it or not, but they say, and here I got to talk to some, so you read some medical journals, like I read Healthline, I read like Harvard Medical Hazard Journal, that they talk about the average ounce of like portion of meat that like red meat that individuals should eat is 3 to 4 ounces.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. So you think about 3 to 4 ounces.
It's a quarter of that.
Yeah. Like yes. And so if you eating all that in one setting, then not the healthiest, but like if you're not doing it all the time, because we talk about it's not about like it's not about the quantity. But it's like, how often do you eat it? So, you know what I mean? Like, if you understand what I'm saying, I'm kind of tripped up with the words. What's your thoughts on red meat? And like people kind of say, like, stay away from red meat.
I agree with you, man.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I probably overuse the word, but it's about balance. Man. I feel like it's about how much you intake, really, of anything, man. Like, when you look at if you were to just look at the breakdown of beef, whole muscle beef versus poultry and other ones, like on the face, you probably should have those other ones, but then it's like, well, if you eat fried chicken every day, like, are you any better than somebody who eats a lot of steak? Like, it's the same type of thing. So for me, we talked about this a little bit in one of the episodes in terms of, I think there's a combination of people who are trying to do good with the information that they put out there. And then I do think that there is a way to capitalize off of people's fear. Not just in food, but just in general. Right? And I think that fear mongering is a thing where it's like, if you drink too much a Gatorade, the sugar in it, the colorings in it can cause cancer. And we've talked about this before. Is it true or false? I think it's a little bit of both, right? It depends on, like I saw this guy, he was on social media, he was talking about he's a soda addict, and he literally has like 6 refrigerators in his house. Wow. And he did like a shot of his garage, and it's just stacks and stacks of soda. Okay, that's excessive. That's overboard. Like, if you're consuming it at that rate, you're probably going to have some health issues, right? But I do feel like this thing of, just coming out and saying like, hey, if red meat is linked to carcinogens, that's linked to this, like, you're not giving the full details and context around the reports, which I feel like is a little bit irresponsible, honestly. But again, there's people who, only are going to take, portions of things and then just run with it.
Yeah, speaking of, I was at work before I came over this way, man. I said like in the supplier development space and sourcing. and open call is coming soon. So you got different suppliers trying to get into open call, but like one was for a vegan sunscreen, bro.
Yeah.
Like what is that?
I mean, but again, I think we've talked about this in a few different things like that. Like, you're going to get people who, for some reason or other, have been misinformed, or maybe they're not, and they just ride for that so much, and they're like, well, because I'm vegan here, I need to be, vegan and everything. But it's like, what is that? Again, the people behind these products, they're smart people.
Yeah.
So once they understand that the public has latched on to something, they're like, we rocking with it. We gonna rock with this until...
Yeah, because somebody made the comment when they heard somebody talking about this vegan sunscreen, was like, how long are we gonna do this? I said, as long as consumers continue to buy.
Bingo.
What do you mean?
That's
how
it.
long? Yeah.
That's 100% it. And I think a lot of times people are thinking that we and I guess I'll lump myself in there, but the food industry in general has this hidden agenda when really we're following you guys around.
Yeah.
We following, hey, what are you guys telling us that you feel like is important, or you feel like, because the public is leaving the clues and the breadcrumbs in terms of what do they feel like. And then once, especially now, like the power of social media, all it takes is a few people with followers and clouts to say something. Yeah. And then you got a whole movement behind it, right? And the best thing to do is like they say, strike while the iron is hot. That's how you make that money. Is hey, if right now we talk about trends, right? So there were a time when I guess pumpkin spice is a big thing still. Every fall
is right around the corner.
It's like, hey, that's how you know fall is. But like I remember when there's all these different trends where there was like Atkins diet or Slim Fast. You remember growing up? Yeah. Slim Fast was that was it. Yeah, like the way that I feel like people talk about Ozempic and all those drugs now. And Slim Fast had the commercials. They had the honeys in it that was looking all slim and everything. They was in the magazines. They
guys with the shirt off. Yeah, for sure.
That was the thing. And then what happened? Like then it was something else. It was another wave, right?
For sure. So circling back to like red meat and like the industry trying to say, "Oh, stay away from red meat." We talk about balance. So they say that, like you said, like we said, like an average serving is like 3 to 4 ounces. They say don't consume more than probably like 2 to 3 servings per week.
Okay.
Do you think that's doable? Like, or do you think like you can go more? Because like we said, like a ribeye 16, you have your typical, you go to a steakhouse 8 ounce sirloin. What's your thoughts on that? Like, should we stay in that realm of like those 2 to 3 servings per week of red meat, or do you think we can go a little bit more than that, or just?
Honestly, I think it is doable, but us as Americans would have to have our brains rewired.
Okay.
For so long, to me, I think that is more of an overeating problem in America versus what we're eating.
Okay.
And I think there's a lot of different examples like buffets.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you, and you've been out of the country.
Yeah.
And you've been out of the country, and me being out of the country recently and being in Europe.
Yeah.
You're noticing some things that are different. Like, man, ain't no buffets over there.
Yeah, no.
Where the buffets at? Yeah. So you start thinking about like buffets. You start thinking about $7 meal or biggie bag where we're gonna give you a fry, chicken nuggets, a drink, and a cheeseburger. But we become so ingrained to feel because again it goes back to that value proposition of, hey, I can get all of it. All comes there. Our mind is, I can get all of this for this amount of money.
Yeah.
And it's no different than when you go on a sale in a department store. The way it's the same type of way to me that the brain triggers like, oh, normally I couldn't buy all these things. Yeah. But because it's on sale, I'm going to buy 4 of those pairs of shoes. And I'm going to throw in a few jackets and you know what I'm saying? So to me, I think it's an overconsumption issue in general in America versus what we eat. Do I think that we could? Yeah, but then how many people's bodies will be like, man, I can't do it. I'm used I'm used to eating this amount. I'm used to going to Popeyes and having a 3-piece, or throwing in an extra piece and having a 4-piece, and a biscuit, and a side, and a drink. Like we're eating too much food in one sitting in general. And because we've been so trained for years and years, we think it's normal. Because what happens is we could go to a place and they be like, oh, well, you know, why does the burger look smaller? And we'll complain about it.
Yeah.
Oh, this burger, they patties are smaller.
We were just, and I know we're talking about steak, but just in the beef realm, I was having a conversation. We were talking about Five Guys. And Five Guys like to play on, but like also like to play like on psychology, mental psychology. So like you an adult male, like you go in, you see a sign, you like, we don't want no little burger.
Come on now.
But a little burger is actually a regular size burger. Also, too, fries. Like, you'd be like, oh, man, they just dumped the fries in the bag. They actually know how many fries they give you. But, like, psychology is telling you to, like, oh, man, I'm going to get the extra fries with that. So, like, it does play a part. Psychology does play a part. But I think, too, like, we try to use a scare tactic, like, about, like, oh, stay away from red meat, this, that, and the third. But also, too, red meat is very important. Has very good health benefits, you know what I mean? And so, like, you hear guys, like, most of the guys talking about, like, I'm a steak and potatoes guy, you know, steak and eggs, like, has a lot of protein in it. I mean, I think like for every 3 to 4 ounces, there's about 22 grams. Every cooked 3 to 4 ounces is about
higher in iron.
Yeah, 22 grams. So you're talking about like if I'm trying to get protein, oh man, steak is the way to go. Like you said, iron, which is good for sending oxygen to cells. Zinc. I think like B12 has B12 too, which is just good for overall just your immune system. Development of red cells actually too, as well as what B12 is good for. Is there any other, like ribeye? We talk about how we love the ribeye, and like has a higher fat content, but also too, like you said, you didn't grow up eating steak. I had cube steaks. I remember having cube steaks, which is like the chuck round, which that's an affordable, I guess, type of steak, is depending on how you season it. Is there healthier options of steak, cuts of steak, and affordable?
So I think with steak, the key is go leaner.
Okay.
You know, so if you're thinking that like sirloin is if you, to me, I don't know if there's any data, but I think the ones that you probably see the most on menus are filet mignon, ribeye, sirloin, strip, and then the porterhouse T-bone. So I think I probably named about 5, maybe 6 right there. Those are really, you know, what you come up with. So if you look at those cuts, right, then you really want to get to, if you're concerned about the marbling, so they kind of talk about it in terms like ribeye, especially too, there's typically like a fat cap, that white fat cap around it. So you have your intramuscular fat, which is your marbling. You have your intermuscular fat, which is your fat from muscle to muscle. Ribeye being there's a technical muscle name to it, but meat from muscle to muscle, there's fat in between it, right? So a lot of times you will want to trim that out. I would say, to me, if you're looking at a ribeye, and there's sometimes like, I ain't even gonna lie, I like it all. So I'm like, man, I'm eating that fat cat.
Even out part. Like my wife feel like, I don't want that.
Nah.
Give me that.
Give that's some of that stuff,
man. That flavor.
Give me that flavor. Juicy, it got all the seasonings. But technically, if the question is about how can we, then you should trim some of that out, because the intramuscular fat is a little bit better for you to eat versus the intermuscular fat. And you can tell, because if you press down on it, you can feel how hard it is, right? So I like to tell people a good thing to think about is if you take something, if I take a stick of butter and then I take oils and different things, the way that it's gonna be at room temp, when you look at it, once it gets inside your body and breaks back down, that's how it's gonna be.
Yeah.
So when you start talking about like build up and the arteries and plaque build up, that's where some of those things come from.
Yeah. That technical term is like the LDL.
LDL versus
Yeah. So that's LDL is taking like the bad cholesterol. It's low density lipoprotein. So like that's the bad cholesterol for you. But also too, like ribeye is kind of expensive too. Yeah. A little tidbit I'll give y'all that I was just kind of reading, like, hey, what piece of the steak or what cut of the steak can I get that's like similar to the ribeye if I'm a ribeye fan, but like not go hit my wallet as much. And I think it's called the checkout round. Yeah. Where the ribeye is typically cut from the 6th to the 12th rib.
Okay.
All right.
You getting into it now. Come on now.
But the chuck is cut from the 5th or the 13th, which that's where you typically get like your ground beef from. Yeah. But it's cut thinner. Yes. You know what I mean? So it was like some butchers are cut like that thinner to kind of get more. How you talk about like you want to make the most of whatever product that you're trying to sell. So like they'll cut this thinner, but like you somewhat get some of that flavor that you get from a ribeye. But I think it's maybe like 25 to 30%
less.
Cheaper per pound. So for people like where we grew up, like if I want to consume steak but don't want to break the bank, also too want to get that flavor, and you're a ribeye guy, like I'm a ribeye guy, you can get the chuck. So can you find the chuck? Yeah.
And I think another thing to add on to that is look at the grading as well.
So I was going to ask you about like, so explain like, because they have on the packages like certified like USD, like is it Prime
Choice Select?
So like so what does that mean? Because explain that to the people.
There's 3 grades of there's grading that goes into meat, and I think for me the cheat code is Prime, Choice, and Select is pretty much graded off of that marbling, right? Yeah. So they know that most people, the best, which is Prime, it goes in that order: Prime, Choice, and Select. I'm sorry. Prime has the most intramuscular marbling within it. So if you think about people who talk about Wagyu, if you look at Wagyu steaks, it's very it's so white because it's so heavy. The way that the cattle was raised is so heavy in marbling, right? Yeah. Which at the end of the day, whether it's inter or intra, it's still fat, right? So one of the hacks is to go down a notch, because it's going to be leaner. Yeah. I think the thing about it is the more fat your steak has, the more forgiving it's going to be when you cook it. Yep. So you got to know what you're doing, because as you go leaner, if you don't know what you're doing, that's going to turn into a hockey puck. Yeah. And you're going to be like, dang, I don't mean to
jump to that, but like you said, you like, I don't even know if I said what type. No, I like to cook mine probably medium.
Okay. So we the same, yeah.
Yeah, same.
We're medium.
But I grew up, if we did have steak, we wanted no pink.
Yeah, you was gonna kill that joint.
You wanted no pink.
You taking that steak to
hell. in the steak, is there any health risk of like having it medium? You know what I mean, to medium rare. You know what I mean, like, because I know so. I used to work with a guy, man, and our boss used to take us out to Doe's. Shout out to Doe's. Doe's is pretty solid too.
I had an old boss that loved Doe's.
Yeah, used to take us to Doe's once a month. Had a guy on our team, man, loved his steak rare. He used to tell the people, "You can't undercook my steak," and I was like, "That can't be healthy." Yeah, like it's.
So yeah, with steak, again, just learning, being around different people and different things. I had to progress to medium, but I don't think I think for me, it's a better eating experience. To me, the juices make the steak good. Yes. So if you, the longer you cook it, the less juicy that it is. Yeah. And then we're not even talking about ribeyes. When you get to them leaner joints,
yeah.
I don't know how people are eating those, but the thought around it, and there's some contrast here, is that from a safety perspective, there is nothing wrong with eating a rare steak, because what happens, I used to work with some hardcore meat guys, and they would just be like, psh, psh, ready to go. I'd be like, dang, I thought I was about something, but you about something. Like, you real brave with that, man. You an OG.
Yeah.
The thing about it is, the difference between steak and ground beef is when you cut, when you do, beef or cattle processing, and you cut that steak, the surface, the pathogens and the things that you need to be concerned about. So when we start thinking about like your E. coli's and salmonella and all those different things that we hear about people getting sick from, it's on the surface of the steak, right? There's been nothing that went inside the steak that that took it from the surface into the inside of it. So as long as you cook, you hit it with that heat, it's gonna kill. It's gonna kill it. Okay. What people get, people try to carry that over with burgers. Yeah. And it's not, because with ground beef, what happens? You're taking a whole piece of whole muscle, and you're intertwining. You're intertwining, and you're mixing it, and you're grinding it. So if you're thinking about, hey, if this is a steak and I'm putting needles and things inside of it, all of the pathogens and germs that were on the top of that steak are now being mixed inside of each other. Okay. Right? So once you cook it, all of that is everywhere. It's not just on the outside, it's on the inside. Okay. So that's why people will say burgers. Even the hardcore people will say, well done on burgers. Yeah. Because now, which I'll do well. You're rolling your dice. With it. Yeah. You're rolling your dice with how you cook it. Yeah. If you start talking about, I'm gonna do this medium, I'm gonna do it medium rare, and I know there's a thing where people do like steak tartare. When I used to live in Wisconsin, they have these things called, I think it's called cannibal sandwiches, where they take like hunks of ground beef and onions and I think some kind of condiment, and they eat it on bread like that. Wait. Yes. They don't put no heat? No heat to it. I think it's in Wisconsin. I think it's called a cannibal sandwich, man. I promise it is.
We're gonna put this on the gram for y'all. Like, if we find it, we're never gonna eat it.
But I don't mess around with like stuff like that and steak tartare.
Yeah, I'll eat 1,000,000 Chicago dogs.
I gotta find it, but I'm pretty sure it's called like a cannibal sandwich, and it's in Wisconsin. It's like people from there, they're known to do that. I don't know how they get away with it, except for it could be the way it could be. And again, this is just me conjecture, so I'm not saying this is what it is, but I think it's the same thing for like people who live on farms and they drink the milk that's not pasteurized. I think their body has become so used and immune to some of those things to where they're not as affected to somebody who would come and drink unpasteurized milk or would start eating these sandwiches, and it would be like they would just have a really bad reaction to it.
All right, so my people from a hometown, because I know y'all say eat y'all steaks well done. Stop killing the meat. Look, you gonna be good. I'm not gonna tell you get all the way to medium rare, but just start at medium well. How about that? Let's take baby steps. Start at medium well, and then medium. Now, I'm not even going to ask you to go any lower than that, because I don't go any lower than that. But feel free if you get adventurous. Also, too, I talk about like I like to cook my steaks at home. There's certain temperatures, and so it starts at rare. Like if you're cooking at home, you want your steak rare. Temp should get at least to 120. Yep. Medium, I think medium rare, it's 130, and then I think it goes in 10 increments. Yeah. Medium 140, medium well 150, and then well done is 160 plus. Your steak is trash by then. Also, too, you say you cook it. How do you feel about? Because I had to check my dad one time. The first time I had cooked steaks at the house, he asked where the steak sauce at.
Oh, woo, woo, no. Again, and a lot of these things are, I think it's very interesting as we talk about these things because it's someone who grew up from where a lot of these things were the customs. But again, working corporately, work travel, learning in food science, learning from, I worked with actual chefs. You learn some of these faux pas and these no-nos and different types of things. So that was something, again, I say that, but I had to learn it, right? Like, I had to learn, like, it's an insult to chef.
Yeah, you go to a
to
nice
use steakhouse. To use, if it's done correctly, you shouldn't need steak sauce. So we don't have any in our house.
Yeah.
I don't even know the last time I've used steak sauce.
Me either. But I think it goes back to what we talked about, like us not understanding how to cook a steak. So we're cooking it well done. We've cooked all the flavor. We've cooked all the juiciness out of it. So we need to add some sauce.
Yeah.
To make it a little more flavorful. Make it a little more chewable because now it's tough. It's not as buttery and just easy to chew.
Sound good. That thing sound good.
Yeah. So
let me jump in on something right there. We're gonna do a little myth busters here. I know we did one on hot dogs. This is probably why a lot of people don't like it anything more than well done because they're like, oh, I don't want blood coming out of my steak.
Yeah.
It's not blood that's coming out of your steak. Now, it is a protein, and it's actually in humans too, called myoglobin. And it is tasked with carrying oxygen throughout the body. Also understand that a lot of our products, even though you look at a steak and you wouldn't think of this, steak is made up of over 50% of water.
Yep.
Right? Because you got to think about our bodies. The cell structures and all of that, right? So, what you're seeing is a mixture of that myoglobin that when it comes out of that steak, so you got to think about it being inside somewhere. Now it's hitting air. So the iron that's in the myoglobin turns red when it hits the air on your plate, and then that mixed in with the water gives the appearance like it is blood.
Okay.
But it's not blood because what
happened? Hear that?
Yeah, come on now. Hey, you can fact check your boy if you want to, man. But I'm just telling you real spit. That's just
not blood.
That's what it is, man. I had this conversation with my mom because I was tired of hearing, oh, this is blood. This is because even if you look at it and you think about it, blood is thicker.
Yeah.
Blood has a thick consistency to it. But if you see that run on your plate, it's thin and it's not. And if you look at blood when it first comes out, it's very dark. Yeah. It's even maroonish. Yeah. Like it's not a red like this type of color. Yeah. So it's not, boom. Don't.
It's not blood.
Don't be in our inboxes. Now that you know better, do better. Get your steak done right. Yeah. Throw that A1 or the what's the other one? The Heinz 51
out of there.
Hey,
57.
Get it? Heinz 57. And I used to work there too, so I should. My bad. Don't come for me, Heinz. But get that up out of there, man. Yeah. And a little hack that I do too is that I've learned just from being at steakhouses is sometimes I'll adjust my order depending on what the level of the steakhouse is.
Me too.
Because
me too.
So I know if I go to I'm gonna catch some. Just think of. I know if I go to a Longhorn, right?
Yeah.
Like their people aren't trained. Like they're just trying to get stuff out of there, right?
For sure.
So I know sometimes if I go medium, they'll hit me with a medium well, and then I'll be mad. Yeah. So and then there's sometimes. It's not often, but if I'm at a very fine steak establishment and I know they know what they're doing, I get adventurous and do medium rare sometimes.
Yeah,
because I know that they know how to, they're not going to, cook it wrong. So that's just something, again, just acquired learning from just eating out and, being at dinners and business dinners and different things like that. Yeah. But just a little hack I throw in there too.
Yeah. Gotcha. Oh. So, what we like to say is, your to-go plate. What do we want our listeners to take away from today? And I'll start. number one, like the biggest thing, and you broke it down scientifically to it. That like, there's nothing wrong with having a little pink in your steak. Not your ground beef.
No.
But your steak. All right, your steak. Also, too, there's cheaper. Like I said, there's more cheaper options like flank. Flank steak is a very now you can't overcook it though because you will get tough.
That's
like,
why you need to go medium rare, honestly.
Yeah, like that's a leaner for healthier people. Like that's a leaner cut for you, but also too very affordable because that's what we get mad like flank steak.
Okay.
Yeah. We get a little flank steak. So you have cheaper options. Like I said, the checkout round. Alex broke down the prime.
Prime choice
select. Understanding that, feeling like, hey, how tender it is, like how squishy it is. Also, too, like kind of fat content. So that's what I want them to take off their to-go plate. Also, too, look, I ask my people just share with one person. One person share with one person. All right, share, like, subscribe. Comment. Like if you want us to talk about certain things, or if you feel like, hey, I would have liked for you to go deeper into different cuts. Like we know you hit on some of the top ones. You kind of talked about ribeye a little more than you talked about the other ones. Like if you wanted us to break down other pieces or cuts of steak, also too, we're gonna post. I'm talking a lot. We're gonna post on Instagram like a whole cow. You know what I mean? And like what are these different? Because I grew up eating roast. I didn't know what part of the cow.
Yeah.
But it's that shoulder piece. The whole put it in the crock pot or let it marinate. But like we gonna show you like where these different cuts of steaks or meats that we eat just in general come from the cow. So yeah, just engage with us. That's what I'm asking y'all to do. Engage with your boys, man. Let us know how we doing. Definitely appreciate all the feedback, man. What you want them to put on their to-go plate, bro?
Man, what I want y'all to put on y'all to-go plate, man. I think I'll probably say this in all the episodes, but like, I ain't gonna do my man Hove like that because I know I'm gonna butcher the lyric, and for me to be a Jay-Z guy, I'm getting older though, man. Y'all gotta give me some grace, but I forgot what song it is, but he basically is just like, don't believe everything you hear and see, right? And I feel like we're not, that comes to us as well.
Yeah,
like
for sure, yeah.
Definitely, if you feel like we're saying something that isn't factual, check us. Now, I don't know how successful you'll be because I think we really pride ourselves in research.
Yeah.
I want you guys to see like that. We want it to feel like a barbershop mentality.
Yeah.
But we treat this like a craft, right? And so we don't just show up and just make things up off the top of our head. So I think that's the difference between us and maybe some of the other forms of entertainment that you guys intake is there's a difference between facts and opinions or facts and feelings, right? So, but feel free to have those conversations with us because I think a lot of it is, for me, being willing to learn new things in your life. Like, and this is not, I know we talked about, steaks today, but a lot of the things you asked me, I had to really sit back and feel like I had to learn those things.
Yeah,
I had to learn about ordering meat medium. I had to learn about not eating with steak sauce. I had to learn these things from exposing myself and not just being closed-minded to saying, no, I only eat it like this. I only try these different things. Like, for the longest, I didn't eat sushi.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, no, we don't get down like that. We don't be eating no raw fish. But then I had to learn, once I learned more about it and was like, okay, especially for me having the shellfish allergy, there's a lot of it that I couldn't eat. But once I learned, like, okay, there's different stuff that you can do within here. And there's food grade, safe, then I was like, okay, man, let me start getting down. And I enjoy it, now. But I had to learn those things. So I, be willing to unlearn some of the things that you grew up with in your household. Man, I think that's what life is about, is it being bigger than Carbondale, it being bigger than Little Rock, it being bigger than Chicago. Like, you're supposed to acquire these different things.
My hometown is Camden.
I know. I just threw
some cities. Yeah,
I threw a few hoods in there, man. where we got a little bit of that hood mentality going on, man. But just be open to seeing and learning different things, because I think it really, can change your trajectory in life. And I know we're in a crazy, state right now in the States, but I think it applies to just food too. If we were all just open to listening and learning something different. So I think that's one for me. And then I think the other one is, just balance. I'm just going to keep hitting on that. Balance. And whatever you do, enjoy yourself. Like, I think a lot of it's nothing wrong with being a foodie and food being part of your life milestones, right? I talked about that with my internship and that being a milestone or something I can look back and be like, hey, that was really like the first steakhouse I was able to go to as an adult. But I think it can become dangerous when it's everything emotional is tied to it. I'm sad, so let me eat. I'm happy, so let me eat.
Which we hit on,
hit on before.
Yeah, understanding what's your relationship with food.
Yeah, you got to understand the relationship and try to keep it in check and keep it healthy. Yeah. And understand, too, like, it's a progress, right? So don't kill yourself if it's like, hey, I had, 2 steaks this week. It's not the end of the world.
Not the end of the world.
But how do you balance that out throughout the rest of the month, throughout the rest of the year, to try to keep yourself in check, man? Don't run away from red meat because all of the fear mongering that you hear around it. Do your research. Understand that there's ways to intake it in and have that balance, man.
And I know we just called this segment To Go Plate.
Yeah.
Be cool with having a To Go Plate at home and at restaurants. Like, you don't have to eat it all.
Come on now,
you don't have to eat it all. Like we said, we love the ribeye, which is typically like the 16 ounce. I don't have to eat all that 16 ounces. I was just go ahead and tell, as soon as they bring me that steak, hey, go ahead and bring me a to-go box.
Yes, I saw somebody that said that was their technique. They don't even allow themselves to be tempted. They just say, hey, just give me half of this. It's just going to be to go. So I think even little things like that is where you don't feel as guilty because I didn't eat 16 ounces, which is 3 to 4 times the amount. Maybe I just ate double. In that 8 ounces right there, and then I kind of ration it out. So I really think that's what we want you guys to take on your to-go plate. I want you guys to remember at the cookout, you're gonna leave with more than food on your plate, man.
Oh, I like that. All right, man. See y'all in a couple weeks.
Hey, we out. I've been thinking about that. I didn't get a chance to probably, but I was like, we gotta come with some things where people know they gonna hear it. And I was like, that's the one. I was like, when you started telling the go plate, I was like, that's perfect, man. So it's perfect. It's like, man, we dropping more than just food. So that's gonna be our take. So I feel like this is good because you always hit them with the like, share, engage. So I feel like that's good. Then I just bring home and say, hey, remember at the cookout, you're gonna leave them more than food on your plate.
Well, I like that.
Yes, sir.